everyone, this is Melissa with Enchanted Emerald, just bringing you a reading for today. It is May 24th, 2022. And as we get started here, I like to introduce my deck. And so what I'm using today is actually the Light Seers Tarot. This is something that my mom got me for my birthday that I asked for, which I'm super excited because the illustrations on these are very similar in meaning to the traditional Rider-Waite deck, and then also very, very beautiful illustrations, very vivid color, and so it just tends to pop when you are looking at the cards. And so this is probably going to be my new favorite deck. So as we get started here, as always, we have, instead of just one card popping out for us today, we have four. So this is kind of a treat. We have the Hanged Man coming out. Beautiful color there. I love that color, emerald green. And then we have the Justice card coming out. Now you can see in this card, I was just kind of drawn to the fact that this woman is kind of looking down at a reflection that looks very different than what she looks like in actuality. So I was just kind of drawn to that. Now this is Four of Pentacles. And I was very drawn to this woman's earring, which is actually a rune, okay? And it's very similar to the Fehu rune. And so it looks like a fish, like the Jesus fish, except it's pointing upward, right, instead of sideways. So I'm not sure if you can see that. It's kind of blurry. I'm not really sure why. Sorry, guys. And then the last card that we have here is the King of Cups, the King of Cups. And you can see the crown of water on the top of the card there. And I thought that was really cool. Beautiful starfish. And you can see that this person's very centered, right? And that's very much an aspect that we're going to be touching on as we go through the reading today, okay? So with this, I'm really feeling here like there is a potential to kind of find greater peace as things roll back around, right? Things could be coming up from the past, okay? And I'm feeling the word like recycle, like things could be coming full circle for you. Things could be returning to you from the past. Maybe perhaps bridges had been burned in the past between you and another person, and you could find that a person that you thought you would never see again might start showing back up. Of course, we are mid-Mercury retrograde, and so that would not be uncommon for Mercury retrograde. To have something like that happen. But, you know, this person, you know, would come back around, and I feel like this is all purposeful because now it is time for you to kind of take a step back, and it's going to be reversing the roles almost, right? Where it's going to be a position in which you are now have like, you know, a position where you are in like a role reversal, where in the past maybe you were the one that said, this is it, I'm done. You've burned enough of this bridge that I'm going to just completely cut it and we're going to be done and we're not going to do this anymore, right? Where this person, you might need this person. And so they show back up at the right time, and this person is kind of extending mercy to you, and so to speak. And so maybe you have things that you need to say, unresolved emotions kind of lingering that you need to have a conversation about, or, you know, something where you are in their shoes, that you see things from maybe the perspective of where it was for them so long ago, okay? So I do feel like, I don't necessarily feel like this is a bad thing, right? I think, of course, anybody coming in from the past that you thought that you would never see again, of course, it can be a little bit of a warning for us, you know, a need for us to kind of prepare ourselves, right? And with that rune and that Four of Cups there on that earring, I really just feel like out of all of this, we are going to be feeling a bit like a fish out of water, okay? So I feel like you are not going to be able to survive or get by using tactics that you've used your whole life, right? Maybe your social skills, your social game has been a big aspect, and so you've always gotten by being charming and witty and funny and kind of playing things off maybe like a joke. Maybe not taking your emotions too seriously. That's always been a way for you to kind of cope through things. And now is a time for you to kind of take a look at that and really kind of see things in a different way, or adopt new social skills, or maybe even adopt completely new coping skills and how you're dealing with that, because you're taking things maybe a little bit more seriously. It's just going to call for us to kind of maybe even learn something new, right? And seeing things in their perspective, it may even call in a whole new way for you to kind of move forward in that social aspect, right? Where you see things in a different perspective and you see the need to kind of change things going forward, right? And so I feel like, you might have just kind of come to your own conclusions in the past. Perhaps you were deceived by this person, right? Maybe you kind of came to your own conclusion. You didn't really have, say, any evidence either way of who was right or who was wrong, or any evidence backing anything up, but you just kind of said to yourself, like, I'm seeing what I'm seeing. This is what I'm surmising out of this situation, and it just seems to me the most logical explanation. And so you kind of, draw your own conclusions from whatever happened, and moving forward, that's just kind of what you've always kept in your heart, of like knowing this had to be what happened, right? And so it's almost like you were taking your own word for it, or maybe somebody told you these are the details, this is what went down, and then you came to that conclusion. So you've taken somebody else's word for how things have happened, and you've always had that your own belief about what happened, right? And so maybe now is the time to maybe have a conversation with that person face to face and get to the bottom of things, right? It's time to release ties to the past, though, for real. Like, I do feel like it's kind of kept you in a place where you were feeling trapped almost, right? Like anchored into that. And I feel like moving forward, the vision that you have for yourself, it's really keeping you from really embodying that person that you want to be, or that you need to be moving forward, by holding on to this. So by having that conversation, talking about forgiving, or just dealing with the emotions as they surface, I feel as though that's a way to really release all of that, so that you can move forward as you deal with those emotions that come up. I feel like your energy will shift enough to allow you to really step into and embody the energy of the person that you want to be, or the person that you want to become, or of the energy that you need to go forward in embracing this newer version of you, going forward into the vision that you have for yourself of the future self, right? And so, I feel like this is really not so much about our emotional body, right? Although if you're feeling as though you're having difficulty releasing some of these emotions, maybe you would perhaps be interested in getting some sort of an energy session to really help you to let go of some of those things, because sometimes they tend to linger in our energy field. But I think that this is mostly about where you're at mentally, right? Okay, because our thoughts really dictate a lot about where we're at and where we're going, right? And sometimes we can put limitations on ourselves, and that keeps us from progressing forward. And so I feel like here your skill will lie in your mental abilities, right? And so it's about outwitting, right? Say your past, outwitting your enemy, so to speak, right? Or maybe you are your own worst enemy, and so it's about overcoming that story that you keep telling yourself. And so with this, it's a mental acuity, a mental fitness, right? This agility within your mind. And so being a quick thinker, being able to reason on your feet as you're moving through social situations, as you're moving through your day and you find yourself putting a limitation on, like, I can't do that. No, reframe that, rephrase that, right? And start to come from a different perspective in that way for yourself, to start to embody who you want to be for your future self, right? It's having that awareness, that self-awareness of what's going on in here and how can I change that to shape what it looks like externally for me, right? And it's about sometimes even just changing your environment, spending time with different people, spending time in different spaces, right? To start to really be bold and start to embrace some of that energy, right? And what you're wanting to call in for yourself to manifest that. And so what you have to gain is far greater than the risk of staying in that comfort zone, right? So what I mean by that is that if you are in a space where you're comfortable and you feel like it's really scary, or you feel overwhelmed by trying to think about, oh my gosh, I have to start keeping my mind in check, and how am I going to do that, and how am I going to get, don't be overwhelmed with the little steps that you need to take to get you to the other side. And that's exactly it. You break it down into small achievable goals, and you work one day at a time, you work one moment at a time. You can start with journaling so that you automatically start shifting into that positive aspect of what you want to believe, right? And so it will automatically start to go into that mode of, like, this is what I know to be true, and what you know to be true, or what you want to shift or reframe your thinking into, that's what you're journaling, right? And so it helps to trick our mind, so to speak, into thinking that this has already happened. And so you automatically default to that. It's like reprogramming our mind, and it's a really beautiful thing, actually. So start thinking about your day to day, and what you can do in small little steps to get yourself to the other side. Because even though it might seem a little bit overwhelming, you have so much to gain on the other side that it's worth anything that you have to do to get yourself to the other side of this little wall or barrier or limitation, right? And so what you have to stand is, or what you stand to gain, I guess I should say, is far, far greater than what you have to lose by staying in your comfort zone. Okay, so start looking at your resources. And what I mean by that is, what do you have going good for you, right? We don't ever want to look at what we don't have, or what we have to do to get there, right? We have to break that down into small pieces, right? And you will get there. We don't want to come at this from a space of lack. And so we want to look at our resources and what do we have going good for us? What do we have to support us in getting there? And how can we enlist those resources to help us achieve these small little goals to get us to the other side of this, right? And so when we look at that, perhaps you do have some supporters, right? Maybe there's people that you want to enlist the help of, right? But I do feel like this is mostly an internal game, right? So you are going to enlist the help mostly of yourself. And yes, you can do this. And this is mostly going to be about mastering your emotions, right? Not allowing your emotions to kind of dictate how you feel throughout the day, not letting a bad 10 minutes, turn into a bad day, right? But really course correcting constantly throughout the day, really staying on course throughout the day, the whole day, and catching ourselves in those moments where we start to spiral, getting ourselves back into a space where, oh, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath, or I'm going to go around the block, take a walk around the block, and come back and refresh and restart. And whatever you have to do, how often you have to do it, do those things for yourself, because I promise you, it will pay, okay? It will pay you in dividends in the other side. So this is about mastering with this King of Cups, about mastering the tides. Now the tides, those are our emotions, right? They ebb and flow, like just like at the beach, right? They come in with the waves and then they go down and then they wash back out and then they come back in, right? And so you're going to have highs and lows possibly throughout the day, where you get a little excited about things, or maybe you feel a little sad, right? And it is about honoring those feelings throughout the day, releasing them, right? This is a moment in which we observe our feelings and then release them, and then they come back in, right? This is what we're here for. This is what we're meant to do. But knowing that you at your core are undisturbed. You are still you, regardless of your emotions. Your emotions do not define you. And so that your job is then to remain centered at your being, at your core, throughout all of that. As your emotions kind of ebb and flow, your emotions will ebb and flow. And you, still at your core, will remain centered and focused, knowing your worth, knowing what your goal is, staying focused on your goal, staying focused in your mind, right? Quick thinker, course correcting. What is it that I'm focusing on? What is it that I know I'm doing? Where am I going? And how am I getting there, right? So keep bringing yourself back to that. Every time those thoughts kind of creep in that I don't know if I can do this, right? Or whatever that looks like for you. So I do feel like, there might be a space where, there are people in your surroundings that are attempting maybe to put stipulations on helping you. So maybe they're putting a lot of conditions on. I'll help you if, or, they're putting a lot of conditions, I guess, on whatever that is, whatever that looks like, and coming to support you in your goal and in those small achievable goals to get to your bigger goal. I feel like it's important for you to be mindful to just see that for what it's worth, okay? There's value in seeing this through all the way to the end, okay? Just keep going, all right? And I do feel like even though it's being dictated to you almost with those stipulations on like how to do things or when to do things and why, whatever that is in the details, if you're mindful, if you're pretty tactful about how you go about things, if you're approaching them, in a certain way, if you're approaching the situation with this caution, that person that's putting that stipulation on the situation and helping you is going to be none the wiser of you just kind of periodically just adding your own flair into the thing, right? And so it's about you, and it's always been about you in this process, and it's how you handle your business going forward. And so I feel like staying true to yourself in this whole process is so important. So when I say the devil is in the details, I think it's important for you to, whether you're actually reading these conditions, or if you are, having things left open to interpretation, the stipulation, it's going to be giving you some wiggle room in how you approach things and how you interpret things and how you can then follow through with that. And, I feel like this person's going to spare no expense in getting their point across. And you have to really kind of come at them from that angle as well. And so meeting them at their level of investment is going to be very important, because that's what's going to have you winning in the end, okay? And when I say winning, I don't feel like it's a competition, okay? So please don't misinterpret that. What I say when I say winning is you will then achieve what you set out to achieve, but also have their support, gain their support, still, I don't want to say abide by their stipulation, but follow through honoring, I guess, their feelings and their beliefs and what they're bringing to the table and what they're also needing out of this situation. And then, that I guess would be winning, right? Both people are benefiting from it, and both people are moving forward in this flow, in the right direction. And so I think that that's a beautiful thing. So throughout all of this, the biggest thing to take away from this is then that fish out of water, right, that I talked about, has now almost gotten himself or herself into a space where they have adopted new survival tactics, where you may not feel so much like a fish out of water, right? You have adopted new techniques and new systems to achieve what you need to achieve. And I really feel like there's a lot of ancestral help that's going to come in for you along the way. So pay attention to what's coming in for you. What does your gut feeling say? How are you connecting with your intuition? However you connect with your intuition, what is your body telling you? Does it feel like a yes? Does it feel like a no? As you're making these decisions and moving through this, because I do feel there will be some sort of an inheritance with this, right? When I say inheritance, it doesn't necessarily have to be some sort of a physical inheritance or a material inheritance. This could be a gift bestowed upon you from your ancestors in terms of a spiritual prowess, right? This power that you gain from a spiritual aspect, whether you grow within your spiritual gifts, whether you are open and aware and in tune with your ancestors, and you just know intuitively when to do things and how to do things and approach things, that it just works out to your best. There's something coming in for you in terms of magic in that way. So just be open for that. So beautiful read we have here for us for today. I do so hope that this resonates for you. As always, I will be back with another read for you guys again soon. If you're interested in your own personal reading, I'd love to be able to do that for you. You can book a session with me on my Square site, posted below here on YouTube, or pinned at the top of the page on the Facebook. And as always, until we meet again, everybody, be kind to one another. Take care.